I cannot believe that it is already here at the end of 2025. This year is absolutely flown by, but the exciting thing, well, one of the exciting things about being at the end of the year is we get to do a recap of the year when it comes to Marvel Champions. So I've done this for the last couple of years where we've kind of gone through and talked about my favorite heroes, modular sets, cards, new archetypes, and this is what we're going to be doing for 2025. Now, 2025 started out with the release of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. campaign box. It followed with the hero packs that came after that. We got Civil War and the hero packs, as well as the scenario packs that came after that, minus Wonder Man and Hercules, which we're getting at the beginning of 26. So that kind of gives everybody a level set of the scope of products that we are looking at. So let's dive right in with my favorite hero released this year. That's going to be Shuri, Black Panther 2.0. I did not think that Shuri was going to outpace Silk when they were released at the same time. I really thought I was going to enjoy Silk a lot more than I did versus Shuri. Mainly, Silk is more complex, probably a little bit more complicated as well. She has this like really cool tuck mechanic, and I thought I was just going to thrive with that. You know, not even considering the fact that she has web warriors, which I love playing with. But Shuri really outshone her. I love the sequencing that Shuri has, as well as the callbacks to T'Challa and how she kind of takes T'Challa's mechanics and kind of makes them slightly more modern. So Black Panther has these Black Panther upgrades that she can put into play, and then unlike T'Challa, where you activate them off of a Wakanda Forever, she gets to activate one of her upgrades off of a basic activation, so thwart, attack, or defend. Now, these have two different abilities associated with them. There's a normal ability, remove one threat. Then there's a optional second ability. You can choose to discard this upgrade and then get a more powerful effect in addition to that first effect. So remove one threat, discard to confuse an enemy. Deal damage, deal more damage with the Panther's Claws. And so there's these fun sequencing events. When do I need to hold on to these upgrades, knowing that I maybe have a Heart of the Panther or a Wakanda Forever coming where I can trigger a lot of these? Or when do I need that bigger push, that more powerful effect? And then you can recur them with cards like Aja Adana. She has a ton of card draw with Elephant's Trunk. Her alter ego side allows you to tutor tech or Wakanda upgrades. It's just a really fun kit, and making sure that the cards, specifically those upgrades, are in the right spot, either on the table, in your discard pile to shuffle them back in, or in your deck to tutor them out with her inventor ability. Just so many cool puzzle pieces and levers that you can pull to make sure that you're getting the maximum use out of Shuri. I love Shuri. I think she's probably going to be in my, very conservatively to say, my top 10 heroes of the entire game, and so she is number one for me here. And as we're going through these categories, we have a decent number of categories. As we're going through them, be thinking of yours and let me know what your favorites are down in the comments. You can do all of them, or you can let me know what your favorite one or two or three of these are. I just really look forward to hearing from you all on that. Moving on to our ally. Now, my favorite ally release this wave is a protection ally, no surprise there, and that is Spider Bite. Spider Bite is a 3-cost 2 thwart in protection. It's so nice to have that 2 thwart stat line, because protection can struggle with that threat removal. 1 damage, 2 health, but the ability on her is that you get to reduce the cost to play Spider Bite by 1 for every tech upgrade you have. Now, I do love the repurpose style play. If you've ever watched the channel before, you are familiar with my love of that, where you get to run just a ton of techs. And this allows us to put allies into play for cheap. So if you're running like an Iron Man or any other repurpose build, there's a decent chance you have 3 or more tech upgrades, which means that you get to play this ally for free, bringing you incredible efficiency for her 0 cost, or I guess 1 effective cost. You get to thwart and block. You can thwart twice. Just incredibly flexible, and I really like how she rounded out and just gave a little bit more to that tech style play that I love so much. So Spider Bite, also she has that Web Warrior trait, and I do love playing with some Web Warriors, having them hop in and out. Now, let's talk about my favorite where do we want to go? We've already been talking about different cards, so let's continue that train and talk about my favorite cards in each of the different aspects. So for aggression, I actually have a lot of options here. And the way that I did my notes here is I have different options and I'm just going gut reaction right now of which one is my actual favorite. And I'm just stalling for time at this point. I would say Spider-Woman, but we just talked about Spider-Bite, but I really do love Jessica and aggression. I'm going to go with Man on the Wall. I'm going to go ahead and say Man on the Wall. This is a upgrade that you can only play if you have the soldier traits. And you can exhaust this upgrade to reduce the cost of the next card you play by 1 for every minion engaged with you. This is very reminiscent of some like Dunedain strategies that you would see in Lord of the Rings, where you are using these engaged minions as like resources. So you have to figure out how you can survive having minions in front of them so that you can utilize Man on the Wall to draw some cards. Now there's some fun combos. If you have another teammate, or you can multi-aspect somehow with like Pin Down to reduce their attack by 2. You can status lock them. We have some allies that will stun or confuse minions whenever they basic activate, and so you can kind of play that game. And I find it's a lot of fun to put big cards on the table, and Man on the Wall helps you do that. So Man on the Wall is probably my favorite aggression card. I wish we had more soldier traits or a way to give soldier traits, but that's having my cake and eating it too. Moving on to Justice, we got a lot of interesting Justice cards. My go-to for Justice, again, I am just biding time. I'm between Infiltration and the Raft, and I think I'm going to go with the Raft. Infiltration is a really interesting card. It's a minion summoning card at the cost of reducing threat. And I like that, but the raft feels more unique. This is whenever you defeat a minion, you can tuck it under the raft, remove some threat based off of their printed thwart, but then keep them out of the encounter deck. And then if you have more than 4 cards under the raft, they kind of escape, which can be really good for characters like Thor or Valkyrie, or characters who want to be taking minions out. So there is kind of this negative effect that can be a boon to specific characters, and I really like that in the game design. The raft is fun because not only are you getting to remove threat, you also can take some of those more pesky minions and just make sure that they're not in the rotation. A lot of the times what I'll do with the raft is I will find the minions that I need to, or that I don't want to deal with anymore, and then tuck those out and never actually exceed that 4 minion threshold and just remove them from the game. I have to take care of them once and that's it. And so I like the design of the raft, and I think that that's a lot of fun. The supports that the game is starting to kind of develop are more interesting than what we got in that core set with like Helicarrier. Helicarrier is a very good and versatile card, but the uniqueness of design of the raft versus the Helicarrier, I'm here for it. Next up, I actually don't have multiple options for leadership. That's because I love Resource Reserve. Resource Reserve is a card, it's a multiplayer card. I guess it could be a solo. I think of it more as a multiplayer card because what you can do is you can tuck a resource card from your hand under this support, and then any player can use that as if it was in their hand. So you can set yourself up for a future turn, you can tuck your strength, and then next turn or 3 turns down the line, if you need those 2 extra resources, that's when you can then utilize that card, and it doesn't count towards your hand limit, which is really nice. But where the card thrives is in multiplayer, where you can pass that strength over to another player. We just talked about how good Helicarrier is. That reduces the cost by 1. Now, if you can give multiple resources, or maybe even a resource that does something when you spend it, like an Audacity, now they get a wild resource and they get to deal damage to the villain. So I really like this. I think this is probably skewed by my Adam Warlock deck, which I built for MCDC, and I just had so much fun where you get to tuck all the pool resources, which if you have enough health are triple resources, and then just all the fun resource cards under Resource Reserve, and then pass them out to different players at the table. I had a lot of fun playing that deck, and so I think that's why it solidified that top spot for me this year as my leadership card. And then protection. So there, oh my goodness, protection got a lot of love this year, and I think the most impactful protection card that we got this year was Ready for a Fight. This is a card that opened up true solo protection play without the need to find a way to confuse the villain, to give yourself a method to roll down to alter ego play. When a enemy initiates a scheme, you can flip to alter ego and then they attack. This could work out in multiplayer, right? If you are down in alter ego, you can protect another player by flipping up and taking an attack. Ready for a Fight changed the game for almost all of the true solo protection heroes. And it's not my pick. I think it probably should be, but it feels like one of those like just core, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the Archetype build, but I'm going to go with Hidden Base. I think Hidden Base is... I just had to take a break because 3 of my 4 cards are supports. Because the only one that is not is Man on the Wall, and that's an upgrade. But the Raft, Resource Reserve, and Hidden Base are all support cards, which is kind of fun. Again, that support side of the game is getting really, really interesting. Hidden Base is a support where when you flip down to alter ego form, you can give yourself a tough status card as a response. I think you get 3 uses of this. This is a niche card. Not all characters necessarily care about this, especially if they're playing protection, because if you're playing like a perfect defense build, maybe you don't need that tough status card. It can always be nice, but is it worth that slot in a deck where you can only add 25 to 35 cards? Very much depends on the hero. Colossus, yeah, loves it. And then there are characters like Miles who can flip down and flip back up in the same turn. So you get these interactions where you can utilize that tough status card immediately rather than waiting for a scheme, or you could combo that with Ready for a Fight, flip back up and take the hit on the tough. So I like Hidden Base. I think that's I don't even know if it's a more fun card. I think it's Ready for a Fight. It's probably Ready for a Fight, let's be honest. But I wanted to talk about Hidden Base. Hidden Base is just a fun card. Moving on to Basic. Now, I have a couple of options here for Basic. Again, I think probably the most impactful Basic card that we got was Practice Plan, which is after you 0 cost preparation. After you resolve a preparation card, discard Practice Plan, add that prep to your hand. So Ready for a Fight, Rapid Response, anything Black Widow plays pretty much are preparation cards, and so you can get multiple uses out of those every single round, and the combos between that is very, very satisfying. A recursion of Rapid Response is silly. It's really, really good. You combine this with like a White Widow, and you get to remove threats anytime you trigger a preparation card. If you combo this with like a Black Widow, the hero, then you get to deal damage every time. So now you're pinging 2 damage, and you have another prep in your hand that you can immediately play. Really fun card. Yeah, so that's probably the most impactful. I think my favorite is Madam Web. I think Madam Web outpaces Practice Plan. Practice Plan is really good, but I feel like the more fun card is Madam Web. She's a Web Warrior basic ally where when she enters play, you get to look at the top X cards of the encounter deck based on how many Web Warriors you have and manipulate those a little bit. But I just love the Web Warrior builds. They're just a lot of fun, and having more basic Web Warriors just strengthens that archetype even more. And I get a lot of satisfaction out of setting that encounter deck and trying to figure out what is the villain trying to throw at me and how can I counteract that. I love the strategic planning, and Madam Web really opens up the options there. The last card type that we're going to talk about before we start talking a little bit more nebulous about archetypes and counters and modular sets and all of that is my favorite hero card. Now, we got a lot of really interesting hero cards this set, and I think we're going to get a lot of fun answers down in the comments of what your favorite hero card is. And when I say hero card, I'm talking about one of the 15 cards, not necessarily the double-sided hero alter ego card. that's going to be the Elephant's Trunk for me. Elephant's Trunk is a support where you can exhaust it as well as up to, I think, 2 other Wakanda allies and or supports, and you get to draw the number of cards equal to how many cards you exhausted. So if you exhaust 3 cards, you get to draw 3 cards. This is an incredible tempo boost. We know how good Hall of Heroes can be when you get 3 additional cards on your flip up. You draw 6, now you're up to 9 cards. There's very few threats in the game that cannot at least be mitigated or dampened with 9 cards in your hand. And so being able to consistently set that up, and she wants to be flipping down to Alter Ego to trigger her inventor ability to shuffle cards back in, to draw cards. She wants to be an Alter Ego. She has a lot of synergy there. And so being able to just draw more cards on both turns, very satisfying. And you can throw that in with other Wakanda supports or allies, and you can really start to thrive. I love running this with the Dora Milaje package. It's very satisfying. Cool. Let's talk about my favorite archetype. We talked a lot about Ready for a Fight. I really enjoy the Ready for a Fight playstyle. Combo that with Practice Plan, and you're able to flip down almost pretty much every turn if you get, I'm not even going to say lucky draws, like if you run 3 Practice Plans, 3 Ready for a Fight, you can pretty consistently flip down every single turn and be safe from that scheme, being able to flip back up and take an attack. This gives you a lot of benefits, gives you access to all your Alter Ego supports, but very importantly, it gives you access to, if you have a higher hand size in Alter Ego, which most of our characters do, you get access to that. The other one that I did want to call out, which I have not played as much, but I love the concept of it, is Strength and Diversity. So this is a leadership card that we got, which is for every trait among friendly characters, you get to remove threats or deal damage. And it's fun to conceptualize deck builds where you are trying to maximize the number of traits that you're putting on the table. It kind of creates this opposite feeling of what we were running for years with the X-Men, where we just wanted to put X-Men on the table because they synergize so well with each other. Now we're trying to get a diverse array of characters on the table with many different traits. And it feels so different. Like, I feel like this card could not have been printed in the X-Men cycle just because of how much synergy they have within their own team. That once we get this wave where we're printing Avengers and Web Warriors and Wakanda heroes that just have a spectrum of traits, this is a really fun card, and it does count all friendly characters, so it has a modular cost based on how many players are at the table, which I also think is a really fun way to balance player cards. So Strength and Diversity is a lot of fun. It hasn't been one that I have dug too deep in, but it is something that is kind of, it's intriguing. It's intriguing to me, so I am looking forward to trying more of that in the future. Moving on to the villain side of the table, we have my favorite encounter set and my favorite modular set. So encounter sets, we got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we got Trickster Takeover, we got Synthezoid Smackdown, and Civil War. So we actually got a decent number of new villains/encounters to take on this year. And I have Captain America written down here. I think Captain America is probably not, he is strong mechanically. He's probably not the strongest mechanically, but I think thematically they nailed Captain America, because Captain America has his shield, which is a permanent upgrade, but it feels similar to the Power Stone from earlier in the game's life cycle, where as you start attacking and as Captain America starts attacking you, that shield starts to get transferred back and forth, and it provides attributes like retaliate and toughness, and makes Cap very challenging to kind of chew through his health, because if he has the shield, piercing does not work against his tough, which I think is also just like a really interesting mechanical as well as thematic implementation of kind of that concept of he has this shield that is really strong. So you have to knock the tough off, then you can attack him, and if you do enough, you can steal that shield away. And it's just like a cool like push-pull from both sides of the table. And I feel like I have had a lot of fun playing Captain America. Mechanically, I really enjoy MODOK. I really enjoy Baron Zemo is very swingy for me. I've enjoyed games with him, and I have not enjoyed as much games with him. That was not really a great English sentence, but we got a lot of characters. We got the massive multiplayer. We got Loki. Loki, the massive multiplayer, the first massive multiplayer for Marvel Champions ever was printed this year. I got to participate in a couple of events, and those were a ton of fun. I think I would not necessarily put Loki at the top. However, if I had ready access to a massive multiplayer group, Loki probably would be that top slot for me. I don't love him as much in True Solo. I don't think he's a bad encounter in True Solo. It's just like, I know what could be with that massive multiplayer and the community feel behind playing Loki. And that is just really special. It's really fun to play those massive multiplayer events. So if you get a chance to set one up or attend one, I highly recommend you do so, because it is a very special event. And finally, the last thing that we have here, we have my favorite modular set. Now, I loved all of the Thunderbolt mod sets that they put out this year. I think the Thunderbolt mod sets are one of the more interesting things that have been added to the game in recent history. And that is because they have these elite Thunderbolt minions that are so incredibly powerful that when they show up, they become the priority. You cannot ignore the Thunderbolts. They're going to hit you very hard. They have a lot of health, and bad things happen when they activate. And so you can't, like, the normal, like, kind of pacing of a game. I'm thinking that you take care of initial threats, and this is typically expert. You take care of your initial threats, you can build out, you build enough until you're ready to take on the villain. That follows the same path here. However, once hopefully you've been able to take care of the initial threats before the Thunderbolt hits the table, and once that Thunderbolt hits the table, it's another panic session where you then have to drop everything. You pretty much have to stop building to take care of that Thunderbolt, and then you can resume building. And so it creates more stress in that middle section of the game, especially when they do hit in that middle. Now, if you hit a Thunderbolt turn one, it's going to be tough. It's happened before. I've lost, I've won. Both of those during that situation, it's tough. But really, when they hit in that middle of the game, so freaking good. Hey, it's Nelson from the future. I realized while I was editing this that I actually did not even say what my favorite modular set was. And so I talked about the Thunderbolt mod sets, and then I just ended the video. My favorite Thunderbolt mod set, which also is my favorite mod set for the entire year of 2025, is Extreme Risk, which is the Thunderbolt. My cat's in here now. The Thunderbolt mod set with joystick. Now, this one came in the back of the Shuri Hero Pack, and joystick's mod set offers these interesting choices that it forces players to make. So when joystick activates, you give her either a tough status card, or she gets an additional boost card, and you get to draw a card. So there's a couple of different cards in her kit that interact with taking a negative effect for getting a benefit, and typically that benefit comes in the form of drawing cards. And I like the risk reward play style that joystick forces on into the encounter. It makes it really interesting on, can you take that additional boost card? Are you going to be able to soak that into an ally? In which case, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to draw another card. But there are going to be situations where on this boost effect, do you draw the card? Do you need another card? Can you leave that side scheme out there to give you +1 hand size? And these are all very satisfying decisions when it comes to Marvel Champions gameplay, which is why joystick is my favorite. Alrighty, back to Past Nelson. 2025, I think, was a very solid year for Marvel Champions. We got a lot of heroes. We got 2 scenario packs. Crazy awesome. I love scenario packs. And we got a lot of really cool new ways to play in each of our different aspects. We also got a new rules reference, and we got a lot of information about where the game is going in the future, with a full product roadmap released for next year, which has never been done before, at least to my understanding, has never been done before. And so I feel like we are in really exciting times for the game. I think that next year, when we have the street level defender wave coming, we're getting Jessica Jones, we're getting Daredevil, all of these things are happening. So next year, I'm really excited for this video at that time as well, because I think that there's going to be a lot of exciting things to talk about then. But yeah, let me know what your favorites down in the comments, and I appreciate y'all. Happy holidays, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the year. And I was gonna say I'll see you next year, but I'll be streaming before the end of the year. But it's one of my favorite stupid jokes. I'll see you next year. Peace.